Hello, welcome back to another video. Just wanted to tell you quickly what I do to this channel if you're new. I review tech and gadgets and household products that hopefully will be helpful for you. I like to also research and review less popular brands that might give you a better value. I also do long-term reviews because sometimes after a product comes out, it does get new software and features that make it sometimes pretty comparable to a newer product that's coming out and at a much better price, so that offers you some better value. And I also do some video about tips and tricks and less known features of the products to hopefully give you a little better use out of all the devices you have. If any of that sounds even remotely helpful or slightly interesting, please consider subscribing. I'd appreciate it, and it would give me some motivation to keep going with these videos. Thank you. Today I have the Galaxy Watch 3, and this was released way back in August of 2020, but it's still a great watch, and I've had it for a while here, so I'll just go over what I think of it, and if it's still a good watch and a good value today in 2022. So it comes in an LTE version and the Bluetooth version, but it only has two sizes, the 41mm and the 45. This is the 45, and both of them have the physical rotating bezel, as you can see here. The newer Watch 4 has a version that has the bezel, which is more expensive. It's called the Classic, and then the regular one just has a digital bezel, which is around the edge. You can kind of just rotate it with your finger, which is not quite as good as the physical bezel. But if you look here, this is where the speakers are. You can see how thick that is. On this side, you got the speaker. You got the microphone, and you got the two buttons. On the newer watches, these buttons are a little flatter and against the surface there, but that's just personal preference, really. The bezel does stick out just a little bit of the screen, so it does give a little extra protection, and I have a protector on there, so that's what you're seeing. So let's get right into the pros. The screen is bright and colorful. The sensors are accurate from what I could detect comparing it to other smartwatches. The auto detection for workouts is very good, meaning some other smartwatches, it takes a few minutes for it to figure out that you're doing something, and then it starts keeping track of what you've been doing. With this watch, I feel like it takes a few minutes for it to figure out what you're doing, but it's been keeping track of you already. So if you're walking or riding a bike, it already knows that you've been riding for 5 minutes or walking for 5 minutes, and it already has the calories and the footsteps and the miles already kind of calculated in there. So that's nice for the auto detection to work so quickly. So it works with the Tizen, Samsung's Tizen software, which is mature. It's been used in all of its smartwatches from when it started until now. The Watch 4 is going to be working on the Wear OS system, but this is the last watch that has the Tizen software, and it's going to have updates until August of 2023. But I'll just show you here. This is a Gear S2 that came out in 2015, actually. And I'll just show you with the Tizen software, it's kind of similar. So if you look here, if you used any kind of Samsung watch in the past, you could see it's going to be very immediately familiar to you, and all the features are kind of the same. The layout's the same. How do you get the notifications and the tiles and all that stuff? All that stuff is very similar. Obviously, it's updated and some extra features on here, but if you had any kind of smartwatch in the past, there will be no issue adapting to this, which is nice. A couple other real nice things here. The battery can be charged with a wireless charger, and it could be any wireless charger, which is nice. It could also be charged with your phone. I found it's sometimes a little finicky with the phone with the power share, because I have a case on my phone and it charges just fine when I want to charge the phone, but when I put the phone on there, it had to be lined up exactly right, and it was, you put it on there, it starts charging, and then a couple of seconds later it stops charging. Without the case, it works just fine, but just to let you know, give you a heads up, sometimes it's a little bit of a trouble to get it to work exactly as you want it to. Also, this has the band here. These are the bands that came with the watch, which are, I think imitation leather or so, but they're very comfortable and nice, but I just kind of wanted a different one, so I got this band, and any 22mm band will fit on here. So there's hundreds of thousands of different bands. You can get any of them, and you just take out this, push this little pin, this pops out, and you can put a new band in there with no problem, which is great if you just want to change the look of it or just get something more comfortable. This is kind of like a fabric. Sometimes I have a magnetic one that with the metal band, and again, you can change them out very easily, so that's great. Also really nice is the physical bezel, which this is wonderful. I mean, you see how fast you can click through all these tiles. There's no way you could do that with just doing the swipes. The other thing is when you're swiping, your fingers kind of blocking the view of what you're looking at. When you're using the bezel, you're very easy to see everything that you're doing, and just easier to scroll through everything. And if you're real fastidious about things, you won't have any fingerprints if you just use the bezel. That's a big deal. And again, the bezel does protect the screen just a little bit, so that's helpful too. So on the ones without the bezel, everything's flat, and your screen could more likely get scratched a little bit. Another couple of things that I like about the watch after using it for a bit is the quick toggles. So you got these, you just swipe down, and if you go through here, you could add a couple, and there's a lot of toggles that you can put in there, and you could just click them on and off. If you want to change the Wi-Fi, you want to change your to theater mode, or you want to turn on your flashlight or the Bluetooth hookup, any of these things you could put up here. And instead of going into the settings menu and finding it in here and scrolling through, it's just nice to have this quick settings up here. And again, there's so many settings that you can put on there, and you could swipe it real easy, and you could just kind of change it on the go, and you don't have to remember where things exactly are. The other nice thing is on the theater mode on this, on the Samsung watches, you could set this for a time period, so from 1 to 4 hours. Then all your notifications and the screen will stay off for that time period. It doesn't have to be just in the movies. If you have a meeting that you do every day for an hour or 2 hours or so, you could just quick toggle the theater mode, and then your phone won't be vibrating and ringing during the meeting. So that's real nice. It has the heart rate, obviously. It has the SpO2 sensor, and it also has the ECG on here, which I believe is accurate, but that one I didn't actually test to see if it was accurate. Some cons though. The battery life on this stinks, and that's not so much a ding on this one, because all the small watches, the battery life stinks. I did do a review of the TicWatch Pro 3 and the Pro 3 Ultra, which are real nice watches that have battery life of 3 days and even longer if you do it in a special power share mode. If you hit the video for that, you get a little more information on it. If you were thinking about buying a smartwatch, it's something definitely to look into. But this one, using it fairly aggressively, I got 40 hours on it, and that wasn't using the GPS very much, maybe half hour, an hour for, between the 2 days, but typically I could get 40 hours. So basically I can get, from the morning, you take it off the charger, you get to the next day, and then you have that full day till nighttime when you'd have to put it back on the charger, and maybe I would have 10-15% left. So if I let it go through the night, it would mostly be dead by the morning. So you would have to charge it every other day, and if you use it real heavily with a lot of notifications and GPS and always on display and things like that, then you would have to charge it every day, which is not such a big deal as long as you plan on it. But if you forget, then you go to use your watch the next day, and you may not get through the whole day if you forgot to charge it. Then the other thing that stinks about this is it does take a long time to charge. It's a 2-hour charging time on this. So if you forget and you have a dead watch in the morning and you go to charge it, by the time you get ready, it basically will have almost no charge on there. So you really have to charge it overnight, or plan on charging it when you get home from work or from whatever you're doing, and then you just put it on the charger and again let it do its thing for a while. The other con is that this did come out in August of 2020. And they have 3 years of software updates and support on this, so it will expire in August of 2023. I don't think that's such a big deal for smartwatches with the security updates. They're not all that frequent on these. And I just showed you the Gear S2. That one came out in 2015, and it hasn't had an update in years. And I I tested it and just powered it on, and it paired to my phone, Samsung phone, Note 10. But it paired just fine. It works just fine. No issues with it. So even though it's not going to get updated with the software, if you have a good price on this watch, you could get it with not being so concerned about that. The other con is that it was supposed to come with blood pressure monitoring. As far as I know, it's not on here, and I couldn't get it to work at all. So if you put it in the comments, then if you were able to do it, and of course this is country specific. This is the United States, and it doesn't work here from what I know. And obviously it's not going to be added. Likely it's not going to be added because this is reaching the end of its life cycle, basically. And the other thing, just a nitpicking here, but with the bezel, you turn to the right and it goes to the right. I sometimes kind of feel like if I turn the bezel, then I'm kind of moving the watch face to the right. And when I turn it to the right, I would think I'd be getting the notifications and things on this side. So if there was a setting that I would be able to adjust it and where counterclockwise or clockwise, and it moves in the other direction for the bezel, moving the tiles the other direction. But that might just be me. If anyone else has that experience or feels that the bezel sometimes should be set in the opposite direction, let me know. Otherwise, it might just be me. But a couple of tips here. I had this watch, and with the settings, the wake up settings, you could have it where you flip it to turn it on. You could do it where you touch it and it turns on, and then also, you could rotate the bezel. Obviously, hitting a button will turn it on, but rotating the bezel would turn it on. And I had all those on, and the screen I think is very sensitive, so it was kind of on and off all the time. If my sleeve was hitting it, or anything kind of came to contact with the watch, it would be turning on. So if that's an issue for you, that it's toggling on too much, then you go into settings here, and we're just going to scroll down to advanced, and just screen wake up. So that's the wake up gesture, that's when you flip your wrist. The touch to wake up is when you touch the screen, and then the bezel wake up is just when you rotate the bezel, it will automatically go on. So this touch to wake one, I found it to be a little sensitive, so if you want to change that, that's easy enough to do. Also in advanced settings is a new thing that they added to the watch, which was nice. But if you got to go all the way down to the bottom here, it's the SOS. So if you click on this, if you click on the SOS or the detect falls. So what happens with this, if you click on it, it just directs you to go to your watch, and then directs you to go to your phone, and then you have to consent and agree to their permissions, and then also you have to add an emergency contact into it. And then what happens is, if you hit this button, once you have it toggled on, you hit this button 3 times, and then it would automatically send you a location and contact your emergency contact. And we'll do it without any noise or anything. And if you have your watch on, you could just click this and it will go right to the emergency contact. And that's obviously if you're in a bad area, you're having some issues with that, or if you just have an issue around the house, or you're having trouble with something, you could set that to toggle just with hitting it 3 times. Then you could also set it so that you have a 5-second delay. So maybe you don't only meant to hit this twice instead of 3 times, and so then you could just cancel it within 5 seconds if you do it. So that's a nice thing, and that you just set up with the phone. The other thing is detect falls. So if you fall, and it says a hard fall, so it says it could be, if you do some exercises, it could set it off. I don't exercise that hard, but I've never set it off. And, it's not calling the police. The only thing, it's texting your emergency contact. So it's probably not that big of a deal if it's a little extra sensitive. And this is great for maybe some people who are a little older that might fall and might need to contact and get some help. So that was, like I said, a great option that Samsung added to the watch, which is nice. And that's how you toggle them on and off. Then also there's some accessibilities here that you can do for if you're visually impaired or hearing impaired. I have a whole nother video about all the settings on there, but for now we're going to use it and assume that we're saying okay, but we're going to kind of use some of these accessibility just to maybe save some battery a little bit. So if you go down to accessibility, let's start at the bottom here, and then we're going to go down to advanced features. Again, all this, the screen reader and visual enhancements, I'm going to have a whole other video about that because it's pretty important if you are visually impaired or hearing impaired. This watch actually does a lot for you, more than most other watches, so I'll go into all those features. So to get to this, we're going to go to all the way down here, we're going to go to accessibility, and then we're going to go to advanced settings here, and then down here we got the two-finger triple tap. So if you turn it on, then you go down here and you could have it do these things. So again, you could do more accessibility features. There's a voice assistant there, and you could do negative colors. You could change the contrast a little bit. So again, that will go into a whole other video because like I said, it's pretty important. But I have it clicked on grayscale. So if you do that, and if you are dying on the battery a little bit, if you take the 2 fingers and tap it 3 times, it goes into the grayscale. So then everything is grayed out, and again, hopefully that will save battery. I'm actually not sure how much battery it saves, but that would be the goal. So if you just want to toggle it back, then all you need to do is hit it 3 times again, and then it goes back to your color screen there. Another big one is to save, do a screenshot. So this is good if you, not so much the weather, I'm just going to use it for a demo here, but if you're listening to some music and you're out on a run and it's playing a song that you haven't heard before or something, you could just take a screenshot, and then you know what the artist is and the album, and you can look it up later. If you want to keep track of your sleep data or your exercise data, you could do the screenshot, and then you save it in your gallery, and then you can put it in a folder and you can organize it more detailed, then maybe it gets organized in the Samsung Fit app, so the Samsung Health app. Okay, just take the screenshot. You just hit these buttons together at the same time, and it's a little hard to do sometimes, but you don't hold it. You just got to hit them quick, like that. And then also, if you go here, if there's more info, you just hit this, and it will scroll down, and it will take another picture. And then you could do this, and you could take another picture, and then take another picture. And then when you're done, and then we'll have all this here together. I'll show you how that's going to look. It saves on your phone, but it also saves in your gallery app. Okay, right here. Yeah, so there it's a little bit better. And then that, again, you could see the whole screen, and that's what it saves on your watch and the phone. And then again, you could take this and put it into a folder or do something. Then also, just another feature that maybe not everyone knows about, but you have the apps here laid out like this. And you could change that. This is kind of nice with the bezel, but you can actually change that. If you go to settings, then we're going to go to apps, and then we go to layout, and this is the rotary view, and then this is the list view here. So now if you do it, now it just lists it, which I don't think is as efficient. I like the rotary one, especially with the bezel. I think Samsung really got that right. And another feature that I had for you is the downloading the camera app, which will allow you to control your phone camera through your watch, which is great for selfies and things like that. So if we just go into here, I already downloaded it. And if you click on it, you can see this is my phone here. Click on it, and it will automatically open up your camera app, and then there you have your camera, and then you'll be able to see exactly what's on the camera. So basically, if you want to take a selfie or anything like that, you could just set up your camera, and then you just hit the button, it takes the picture. You could also just swipe to change it from the selfie camera to the main camera. Then there's also a little timer up here. If you hit that, that will give you, I believe it's 2 seconds for it to go off. So you could click that on your watch, and then, like I said, it could have the camera to go off. But as I found out, this is only available on from the S10 lineup and forward, and it's not available on the A series as of now. So just keep that in mind. If it's not working for you, you can't download it from the Galaxy Store. The reason is your phone is just not compatible with it. So keep that in mind. The couple other things. Again, the Tizen software is not going to be supported after August of 2023 on this. And starting with the Watch 4, which is the next watch, Google Wear OS would be used with a Samsung overlay. A smartwatch with a stock Wear OS on it. And it's kind of similar to this, so it's not any major changes, but it is slightly different. And the big thing is that you get the Google apps, and then also you get a lot of more third-party apps, and it's a newer software, so obviously all these companies are going to be making apps for it. So I'll just go over the difference with the Watch 4, some other differences. Again, it's going to be the different software, and you're going to get 4 years of software support on that, so that's better. Slightly better resolution, better processor, better battery. On the bigger models, the smaller models have the same battery power. And you get a little more RAM, 1.5 gigabytes instead of 1, and the storage, onboard storage, goes from 8 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes. Unless you're storing a lot of music on your watch, that really shouldn't be any kind of issue. They're both rated for 5 atmospheres, IP68. They're both military-grade durability. The Watch 3 has the rotating bezel, which is really nice. And look how fast you can swipe through all your tiles. The Watch 4, you would have to. There's a regular Watch 4 with the digital bezel, and then if you wanted to get the physical bezel, you'd have to upgrade to the Watch 4 Classic, which is like $100 more. So it's a significant upgrade. And the other big feature on the Watch 4 that's not available on the Watch 3 is the body composition. So you could check your BMI, your fat, your water levels, muscle mass, things like that, which there's not going to be available on the Watch 3. You need a different sensor for that. My recommendation for what it's worth, trying to decide which smart watch to get of the recent ones, you decide if you need LTE or not, or if Bluetooth capable watch is just fine. Then you decide on the size. The smaller ones are usually 40 or 41 millimeters in display size versus the larger, which is 44 to 45, depending on the model. And you decide if you want a physical bezel or if you're okay with that digital bezel. And decide if you want to get a used or a refurbished watch. That will save you quite a bit of money. And if you get a refurbished from a kind of a brand that you trust or a company that you trust, then sometimes you could save a significant amount of money. So basically, check the prices. The Watch 3 has been out for a while, as well as the Watch 4. The Watch 5 is coming out soon, but not out yet. The Watch 5 will obviously be an upgrade on all these, but would be significantly more expensive than them. So between the Watch 3 and the Watch 4, the Watch 4 doesn't have that many upgrades over the Watch 3. The Watch 3 is still very smooth. All the apps open quickly, and the processor seems very fast for this watch. If you want the body composition measurement, then you have to get the Watch 4. If that is not that big of a deal for you, then the Watch 3 would be great. And again, you do get the physical bezel on this, whereas the Watch 4, you have to go to the Classic to get that, which is, again, more expensive. So decide on that. The other thing is that if you want to if you have an Apple phone and you want to use a Samsung watch, this is the only one that will do it. Going on from the Watch 4 and on, they will not be compatible with the iOS system anymore. So I hope that was a little helpful for you. Hope there was a couple of details in there that you appreciated. If it was, please go ahead and subscribe. And if there's any comments or anything that I missed, go ahead and say it nicely in the comments. I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.